Check.
Ah,
Check.
Joina.
Check. China.
Oh, yeah.
So first I talk a little bit, then we can have questions. Today our subject a little bit discussion of the Rimeba. First we have to think very carefully what is the Rime. Rime is a Tibetan word. Ris Chapa means falling two sides. So for instance, if you ride a horse, if we didn't stay straight forward, and if we fall in one side, if we are falling side is a lot, that means we'll fall down. So also similar when we measure in the traditional, I don't know name, Jama, the kilo, how to measure.
Oh yeah, the scale.
Scale. Yeah, okay, scale. And if any part, if you fell, is not right, so you have to stay balanced.
Okay.
So mid means non-existent. So that's why. So remain means not like this. So then is balanced. So therefore, remain means like more balanced and more equanimity and more the truth. So ancient texts say, not saying you have to be rime two different lineages. Instead, they're saying you should be rime and have pure perception or the Dharma. All over the world, when people have this view of the religion is unbalanced and unbiased, so therefore you have fighting with religion or that kind of impure perceptions arises. So therefore, the Buddha Shakyamuni Dharma is more attempt and balanced your own the afflictions and your own the view and feelings. So this is the main focus.
상지 출력 그런 그 민라양 아 상지 출력라 정화지위地名라양 냥한 린디비 람데 지바라고 요리 냥한 디디가 타서 다 등원을 와당 아 심처리 제야당 모두가 형아 떠솔이 관는 그 답시 때라 당 냥한 린디비 람데 비요
In general, the Buddha's Dharma we call pacify this nyangan. So nyangan means the suffering or worry, that kind of this is you make pacify.
상지 출력이나 때라지 연고요 냥한 린디비 람 연고요
So as long as Buddha's Dharma must be that kind of path, there is no other way.
옛날양 추도 상마요리는 강사가 왕도 힘이 다 나타나게 출린디 나로라양 지 가브레 리젠임바 가브레 리미임바 나오 지 망보지 총대요.
So regardless what Dharma pure, the Dharma holders, the people, sometimes some people is balanced, some people are not balanced, some remain, some not remain. That kind of problems time to time rises.
강사가 쫀디마도 추지 쫀 말이.
So this is we have to see. This is a person's, people's problem. It's not the Dharma problem.
강사가 쫀도 가브레 가는 소도 추지 쫀이 사리 삼다디 때라 로셰 제와당 로타 제와당 아 때라 가는 소고 지 산로 남바 지용진다 오다나 용구도
sometimes we the people's problem and people's attempt this weakness we mistake with the Dharma, so that sometimes happened.
추도까지 양상 말이 제스타세 장상 말이 옛날양 강석들라 다 옛날 녀몽바 나서요 와리 사바르도 가는도 닝미디라 쏟된 닝미로아 디디 소바장의 디랍지라 세송디 가가 데라 지 소바장의 요바당 쇼리 정의 요아당 닝미랑 상당 닝마 닝미 디가 땅다오레.
So Dharma is always pure, no matter how you analyze. It's timeless, pure. But the sentient beings have afflictions in general, and also especially in this Sudden Nyingma, which means this era is like more bias and conflict time. So therefore, many problems rise.
대인디 가는도 추바스당 서인나양 랑거 쭌도 추강람바 몽고와 탑람 바주도 가르치보리.
Therefore, anybody is considered as practitioner. We always have to be mindful our own problems. We not mix in with the Dharma.
지금 감라 집디 두고나 토마 랑거 셈이 저와지 들어와지. 다그 뭐당 뭐 미바로라 파 쳔통당 기거당 로병당 야부 쇼라 냠지당 따라라스파 지고 용거리.
So the Dharma is the first. We have to tend ourselves, and after tend ourselves, then you can naturally respect others and you care others, and therefore you build a good relationship with each other and exchange experiences and improvement, help each other.
출리리미 디디 타마틱도 스튜디오 당저고요 말이지. 정말라 기거당 쳔통당 다그 포용지나 다른 느끼요리.
So when we say rime, it doesn't mean we have to have mix everything. Instead, you understand each other and appreciate each other and help each other. So if we do rime, that helps in this lifetime and the other lifetimes.
신들라 판바의 가리지 연결이되나 나서 출입 정말라 다가나지 쇼니인데 저런 그 암초가 나라라 출입강당 강그 민고나양 자투나양 띠분통나양 강사가 지금 나나양 때라 때니 질라 뭐디와 용제도 매바 차다디 때라 때니 질라 갑디 지치요레.
If you are Rinpoche, then you hear any other traditions, dharma, awards, and prayer, anything, image, anything you had this encounter, and then you have make your mind is joy and peace and appreciation.
Chitanga ngaran to ta chulig zangan kain hamagoji. Leani kain hamagoji tela jise yang jeju da mares. Yinna yang kikwet chiko yore.
So some of the religions or practices we don't know really they are good or not, and something like that. That kind of ones is not like you inspire by them because you don't really know yet, but still you have to have a respect of them.
Chuli jamba jila ngaran to chunju jeji yinna. Poksa da morsik mares. Kangsa ka mambo jila pokdo yore. Ti shongzen mambo jila pokdo yore. Ti nyimji tawa chikpa, chulam chikpa, chujin chikpa, ti chokpo lasokpa mambo jila ta pokdo yore.
So if we criticize any kind of religion or the systems, and this is very big destruction because it's not just harms one or two people. Instead, many of people, even one person we did this, and the person's all the connections, relatives and friends, and they share in the same religion, or all of them destruct. So we make some kind of disruption and for all of them. So therefore, of course, we made quite impact on our own mind. For instance, if you did that and then the other people criticize back to you, and then this makes two sides of the many people's mind is disturbed. So therefore, many of the disruptions or that kind of painful in mind is come from each other's religion, or those didn't enough of respect. So therefore, we have to avoid that kind of criticism and or pure perception. Instead, judgmental. Instead, we have to non-judgmental and more respect. It's worth to effort. So how to be remembered in the past? There's many of the noble beings shown us many ways. Firstly, all the practitioners from the lower and the medium and the high, that kind of process is already established.
That
kind of process achieving different stages of the practitioners have different capacity of sentient beings that can they can help.
상지의 줄이 된다 지니 에와 망보 지니 주지 봉보 자트지 동지 파르 리나양 쳐 타바선라 츠 리나양 쳐 돈지 출리지 인리종대 상지 출리지 인리종대 상마 상장 인빙가라서 nd시지 토만 해보거든.
So regardless of that 84,000 dharmas, or you can make benefit of 3 vehicles, whatever range we think of, any of range of the dharma and any of these followers, traditions and lineages, all of them is very pure and beneficial. We have to have that kind of perception established first.
그 상마 그 나랑 그 똥바 어디라 샤바 담비다고 지금바 그 nd시지 찍거든.
Also, it's very important to remind ourselves, regardless what tradition you are, our teacher, this is the one only one, the Buddha Shakyamuni. Very important to remind that.
나랑 좀 우리가 저기 똥바도 양답바나 참마 어딘바 초도 저와 임바 때라 나랑 좀 기바거든.
So our the teacher, the ultimate teacher, that Buddha Shakyamuni is pure and valid and trustworthy. That we have to realize.
근데 출리가 장게 똥바 나토 요아리 출리가 장게 짐당만 망보 요아리 대 상마라 상지 되라서 비 냥보 요바데 나랑 좀 killing 거거든.
There's other teachers and other traditions and other followers, other religion. This all of them we have to remind ourselves. All of them have Buddha nature.
단디 상지엔면다 하고 말이다. 마음발라도 상마도 상지엔바다 나랑 좀 남바가 따와 찜텐데.
So regardless, right now is Buddha or Bodhisattva or not, or ordinary. For in the future, every of them is Buddha. That is, we all Buddha Shakyamuni followers have to agree with this. So right now, every sentient being have the Buddha nature. This is of course.
다 참미지원인바그 다바직지야당 양다가 상마라 되라셔비 냥보 요바다그 김통직제야당 전통 첨부제야그 삼로 지원 거래.
So if we have this kind of appreciation and respect on our own Buddha, and also the others we knowing is their Buddha nature, and then this make us we have the confidence our own Buddha, and we have the still we have understand importance of the others.
근데 상지 출리 난카라 리미제 땅도 다 람나는 출진 소수 스타트업 라 투삼이야고지 니바 땅자모지 니니 제가 탐지지 공박직도 인고지도 똑고도.
So within the Buddhist traditions, between each other how to be remembered is the best way is you have to study all of their doctrines and the practices and conduct, so then you know exactly how they are all is beneficial equally, and they are all is same purpose, final same purpose. That we have to have realization.
gomtri goni na da chobi goni na da tela chabar ji yo ri te na ina tawi goni ngana so thama to ji kwa yimba de la ni xi ya bo ji je song na ram jin xi ge ri mi cha song na ri choka ka ri dang na da cha ri je tar xi na da de ri mi ya shu de ri sam gi yo.
Regardless the conduct are different, and regardless the meditation methods are different, but the viewpoint and what we believe in or understand is the same, and this is quite important.
Teta Mashina, Garato Sanji Jum than the Garato Namba in New Zone de Stomba Stipa Yimba, the Ningarato Namba Sanji Bati in New Zone de Tawa Tonio Sari Caridina de Sapinabo Giopa and Dokiopa. Tani Cuba the Jalanuba Machig and Theodon Travatanati Dokiopa, Tasotamla, some not Tongodus.
If you cannot study all of the doctrines, and then at least you have to understand any of the Buddha Shakyamuni's followers, that their view is the ultimate truth is the luminosity of the Buddha nature, and the meditation or the practices as a combination of the compassion and wisdom, and then this action or conduct or have to be non-violence and to have compassion on others. So therefore, if at least if when we do Rime, we practice and focus on all your own practices, your own tradition, and then the others you have a good perception to non-judgmental. So how you non-judgmental or more perception, good perception, because we have to think of, we all is the follower of Buddha. So the others, any other traditions, something you practice in, they all had incredible realized masters come, and they established incredible doctrines and everything. So therefore, they must be very good. That kind of attitude we have to establish. Also, we have to think about is how is powerful negative karma if we judge a dharma or judge noble beings. If we are beginner, then we don't have really very clear or pure of wisdom or knowledge of the hearing and contemplate and meditative mind. So when we have our knowledge is too small and knowledge and wisdom is too small, and we have too big ignorance and too many afflictions, then of course we something we right or wrong is mostly wrong. So therefore, when we are judging the other traditions, their history or their conduct or their viewpoints and everything, when we see they have some errors or something is not something unpleasant like that kind of rises, that time we have to just remind ourselves, and so I have more ignorance than the wisdom, and the so it's not necessarily my judgment is right. That kind of remind we need.
ranga chonsang the tendon jig matab di kabla tagnang jig chi tabak tan yo maris.
So if we have not enough criticism ourselves, and then there is no way we can have the pure perception.
Ngarang to jik nyomong ba dang lokta ga de mugil hai jag de ta so wangbu chun jin cha song nang ding sarbo jin thong ga maris.
So we just have to remind ourselves, if we have problems or disease in our eyes, we cannot see everything clear as it is. Similarly, we have, if they have afflictions and pride and the kind of, and then we don't really see the reality.
Pe ba ga ngon ji khiba kong ma nam jong song li kang la tak chut nga marong set ko ju taris.
So therefore, the Paishin, the Noble Benz, they're saying you should not have too early judgment for any doctrine.
Tatela ndur dina rangling la nyamlin in da hob yong da nyamlin kang sikwa ji xue jiu dang. Yanling la kang ni jin ni ge da nang yang ju den yi ge kong la ri mi den de da yo re sam ge du.
So therefore, if we very briefly, Rime means you really focus your own practices, and then you try to non-judgmental or pure perception others. This is probably the most simple way to do it.
Ngarang ge ri mi che tang da na ji yin ma fong ni chu jin cha sang ge ji sta de sang man ti shin ba ji kan shi mi.
So even myself case is like that kind of Rimepa. I'm not knowing everything, all the traditions, viewpoints and practices very well.
The tang yi sam che la nang da ngi ri mi ka sang ndor ji su ya pa yin.
This is my opinion or my perspective of what I think of the Rime.
Ni chorang to chun ju yin na chun ju ji na chok.
So this is, you can criticize if you have some thoughts.
Zhewa yin na zhewa ji na chok.
You can have question.
Gaba jiao sam na gaba jiao na chok.
You can debate or you can defeat all the points. It's up to you.
Tani nga zo lan zhewa da ni lan kang thap thap dam bi ge yin.
So if you have question, I tried my best to answer. So now it's questions. You can have questions about Rime or the other previous the teachings we already had, and any questions you think is important, of course you're welcome.
I heard like Chogyal Namkhai Nobu said in Tibet, not only Nyingmapa, Kagyu, all these 4 schools, but also there was Theravada and Zen schools also in Tibet surviving. So I would like to know whether Rinpoche has a record of those traditions within Tibet that he have found, even in minor concentrations, or is that statement valid?
You mean they exist now, you said?
No, not now. In the past, Tibet was a country where all schools of Buddhism existed, even Theravada. Even Hinayana was there in Tibet.
Okay. So Chulgenam ki Norbaga Zerkadana Dandaga Wokana Uchendi Chulji Chemo Je Dana Tumezakonda that it's Handamarata, the Wombo Town, the Matseda, the Terman Jaboda, the Shamaya Nachuyon Redox, the Dinneris.
Oh, yeah. Tangi Chutala land Zip Jang Chao ni Shayum.
So this is, I give you very details of answer.
Pola tirap damba ngon check chilik the mang check the pombo re lamna chokoyori.
So before the 7th century, you can say most of the Tibetan religion is Ponpo.
Antoni, Tirab Dambani and Zonte, Nambatare, Totambo de la Cardigonego, Namba de la Rigmambo, you can't see your Chujin Mambo, your money, Chujin Stigma to your money.
And my tissues in my, okay, thank you. Chinzi goyang skills ma di mate.
Di Gini, I did of them be Gini, the Gora. Ah, Nambatare, Tomatara, Taba Chenpo Tarares.
So after the 7th century, the Buddhism flourished in Tibet, but this is Mahayana tradition.
Taba Chenpo Tanga Timian Tariores.
So this the Mahayana the Sutra and the Tantra is the flourished centrum.
Tomato Chandis Churkutariore, Tinala, Ndo Yore, Tinala Nga Yore, Dordinia Chicana, Nikanyam the Chomari.
Most of early the Mahayana is the Avalokiteshvara Sutra. So in this sutra you have Sutra and Tantra both.
Tachek Teravata Chong Aridina, Chong Aridin. I don't know Nitan Deva Nerva, Cardina, Nerva the Toma, Tirab Japanese, Zonte, Pok, Rapson Toma, Sama Mugdan Las of Arab to Shong at the Toma, the Twa, Teravata, Jean Latin, Vigona, Tanajin, the Rizon Latin, Rap to Shong Maton, the Rizon Mountain, and not Rap to Shong Trioma.
Okay. So if you say Theravada is exist there or not, it is because all our Vinaya we focus in Niften Deva, Nyangashita. Yeah, that Tibetan.
Mula Sarvasti Vadin.
Yes, that one. That's one Tibetans follow. So this is the Theravadan. Without this, we don't have any Vinaya, and we don't have any Vinaya ordained. All of them, we rely on that.
Nitan Lavian, the Gelon Rimato, or Naran Sogo, Tanaka Deo Georgic, and Nitan Deo Lacumita. Nitan Deo Georgic, and Nitan Deva, Lapio Mario.
Oh, really? Then, so yes. This is Niftan is not the one of the 18th. The Niftan means the fully ordained and senior monks.
Otendicado Taman Dervi, Dervala, Teni, Raptor Shastari, Derva in the Coranto Tandaga, Katakwana Bazilon Jimara, the Dutch thief shop.
So Tibetan have Vinaya exist. So this Vinaya is always come from the no,
Orthodox school.
Darwa. Oh no.
Vinaya?
No.
Vinaya Begatari.
Kanjur.
Vinaya, yeah, Vinaya. So Vinaya is come from Theravada.
Oh yeah. Then the Tanda bar the chicken, a poke, Chujin Tamagananga, Rapshon, the Dictato, Tapa Chenpo, look at Rapshon, the Chokajikan, your money, tell us 10, Tamashon.
So there's no such thing fully ordained by Mahayana only. So all of them rely on this Theravada Vinaya.
Then I'm younger, some years ago, along with you, along the jet the GG, Tinanga, Namta, Tumkan, the Gojo, the Cardina, Gendenby, the Raptor that you order. Tinala, Derby Laglin, Chiviamba, Chonjo Mato, not a Chukunda, and Yamji me, but another.
Churjita. So there is 18 different sections in Sami monastery. This is one of them is this Vinaya section. This section you cannot have any others, only that. 12, sorry, not 18. So this is still exist.
Niba the Chamba Chang, Sugar Garden, and there are Chamba Chang to show Medina, Yang Shong Yoris, Tanda Naran so Jangir Gushoni. Jangir Gushoni, Seratarni, tanda jig ngana jang gu so khol po ba jigla thagman le gona ti de no zang kan khaji chong.
So also there is also Vinaya alone exist. The Buddhism come from Jangir, which means the Yunnan come from to Tibet. That and this some parts they practice only this. So that means they are only Theravada.
Yunnan kabre na kare Yunnan. Yunnan gu jo da chuje tong zeng gambo da chong de tang kabla changma da ta pok orang.
So when is Tongtsen Gambo and Chitong Depsen during that time, the all Yunnan is under the Tibet.
Tani jima sobu makab jamni mambo tor songari taga ti jimi tanaga thaman gumba khashi yang tachinan jer songa yoare khashi tani me bacha songa yoare.
So after that, sometime and the Mongolian army disrupted these areas. That time, some of them they converted to Mahayana, but some remained.
Go songa.
My last question.
Okay.
I would like to know, because now we know the four main schools of the Tibetan Buddhism. Five, yes. In Jonan, the question is about Jonan, mainly the red hats and the yellow hats. Is there a difference in the uniform when it comes to Jonan? Because Sankhepa we can easily identify with the white skirt, and Nyingmapas like red, and Kagyu similar. Is there any difference that we can identify Jonan school in the uniform outside?
다 실그 추지 첨보 시제지 요까지 다 저는 난 그 nga 요까다다 이 사케와는나 또 탐시도 콤바 챕터 아랍스 시템자들이 장고 마로도 새로 이제 사케 건지 가로도 다시 관리도 발라야 지금에서 요 그때 차이디데 차가 각각 시템자들이 건지가 하라티네 각각 시템자들이 다 저는 건지가 각각 시티오늘에서
오. 단디 밀감다오나 사체 천전을 찍고 마도 건지 가깝게 거나 저런 것이 덮고 말이.
So right now only such a children have this different cloth. Others you cannot differentiate it.
뭐마 자르지 기출게 나올라 뜨글로그 다게 차브르시아 다다그 삼노지 요사리 다다그 민양 땅두.
So long time ago the Chinese traditional Buddhism maybe they differentiated with the cloth and robes.
볼라 복그 출이 차가라 뜨글로그 민양 땅두.
So similarly, Tibetan traditions a long time ago, they made some names with what the color of the cloth.
다그 저는 그 뜨글로그 차버 금지 썼는데나 rigzin 저게 요리 달라 약간
So if you want to differentiate Jonang, then you look at this tanka. So Shambhala Dharma kins there. So maybe you look at their cloth.
So you have to go to Shambhala to see different.
좀 저나라 무서 그 자모도 찍보리 마토라 무서 그 뜨글로 자모도.
So Jonawa doesn't have any difference of that cloth, except the hat is sometimes a little bit different. So is that enough for your answer? Any question?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, in the West, many students have access to. We're very fortunate to have a lot of access to Dharma from many traditions. But one challenge comes that we learn the first tradition that comes to us, and we start accumulating practices and understanding in one tradition, and then we encounter another tradition that maybe works better for our needs, And then we have inner conflict, how to practice. It feels like we're abandoning one. If we take on the other, how do we balance these in a Rime approach? All of the different practices we encounter.
공체가 납시간 존나 실그 다다그다 손님 쳔보제고난다 까라정오제고난다 다 주짓 망옥 라마마 셔니 축송데스 다 손님 정오데스 쇼식니 이나요 다 강가르지 쳐도 그지나 통당보 지금 주적직 그 주용 되게 다 공체기 때 지금 냠린다이 때문에 디테 야 주저년 봐서 그 지금 주도 톱송나스 되게 어때 냠린의 곡삼디데 되게 양음악에 대한 방당 코는데 자자 동무즈 그 지금 생크나 나나 나바다 할 야 마파디나 야 따다게티 악사와 지금 대양 지금 냠선렌도 요판다고 또 라나 한토 쳔보요는 동무즈 그 나와야 셔 다티미가 강가르스게 요크스 다티타 다치 친구들의 리메이나 야 호요다스
어이야 나는 또 보기 출진 깡당깡이나 당원도 로도 나바비나 지그리 잠로나 지그리 셈친나 지그리 돌지 생화나 지그리 지가 뭐 제조다 지그리 당니 디쇼나니 상마더 리미티야나 뭐저거 깡야면도 상비요 리미 린다고 그 상비요.
So I think that's all Tibetan traditions we have, all refuge, bodhicitta, and all these practices, preliminaries, and then and dedication. Everything is just same. So therefore, I can't see any problems to be rime, and it is naturally a kind of rime.
then 다 랑거 스타바 찍텔라 인지니 랑거 감당 왕보당 텀바 랑거 지금 일람 척그 잠기 때에다 막 찍된 주진 찍라 깡바 찍텔라 가리디나 땅 타부고니 염지지 로병지 아니 주진 연당 연도 띠띠 양락 암 차시 던도아 지고니 인데 지나 따와양 마더바 양락양 마체파 리오양 마케마지 차레.
So if you practice thoroughly and study thoroughly and a stable way of one tradition you take as a full path, and then the others is like more complement and more support. That kind of approach is if you do this, then it's like tree. The tree have plenty water and not dry at the branches and flowers and everything. Is this way is better.
Oh yeah.
That so there ngumagata fondani the takagiti krigi takagiti gaga samjirna ngumma the fondani tigiti nichun raw the yonare jamosha ko kare
yonere yedam fondin jipa nguduk jikak biyonde teli dig jonde on mali.
So yes, because this first if you have yitam and then you abandon that yitam is obstacle of get cities.
So
Then these on the Quadribago, Tanasongo, Lama Tila Kundina, not to Lama Hardy, not to Lama Chenpo and the Lama Tamala Kuratabayan. Yedam of still one, Yedam Tama Panjanin, that pion. Yedam of stick the young Yedam Gang and Gang them now, Tama Lami more of Riviana, taken the Kayuadi.
So therefore, Kajupas say, if you abandon one lama, that means you abandon all lamas. If you abandon one yitam, then you abandon all yitams.
Yedam count them now, Lami more of Govindu.
So all the yitam deities, you have to think of the same nature of the lama.
And you don't think on Tanazaki, Chamba Koni, Yang and Dijipa, Juice in the Zoba Chemboyan, did the gentle Mabjipa, Chamba, Lami Shenlaptan, Yedam Latapa, the static, the strong go that you are.
So Dzogchen Basen most important, you remind yours always remembering the appreciation of Lama, and in this single point is most important.
라마당 꼼촉라 따빠 심천라 냥지 마용이 짬박 섬근앙도 룸탐첸더 데피오.
So Lama and the three jewels, you have the faith, and then you have the compassion to the sentient beings, and then you remember in these three is everything included, all the practices.
더 하고는 더 방고지 가는 요 말.
So if you do that, then you no need abandon anybody.
초가직 니마직니다 똥마텀도 그 방자가 말이 냥나 요아리 마르가니 방자나 그 방아리 마토 가브진 트로비진 티토크 마토 나랑 더 용부도.
You abandon the some rituals doesn't mean you abandon. Abandon means you dislike them and you hate them. That kind of this kind you don't have time to do this. This kind of happens everybody.
Many people feel great anxiety, very anxious when they can't do all the practices that they are supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And so very difficult.
Yeah, new mambos the same not the harkures. The kachi chokas jing don jimao na chik the chichenyam lin chi dio di the yejmao. The de har sik kachi sem no the non Chenpo sakayoni. The chichon the hindra wadana the chakana rawata. The canon does the team is the yoke on this.
어 당이 때라 때라 렌jak요. 때라 점가나 말 까딱까니 빼 마고 좀. 저런 그 라미니 killin지 담자지 니체크 윤지 kil랑장도 어디 제거. 강정마도 killing 그 만들 라고. 랑타니 지니 제거 그래 라고.
So he has got many other questions. People that kind of same questions from many places. So his answer always saying, "Oh, if you really promised, then you have to admit what what you promised. You have to keep the promise, but you should not promise everything easily." That's his answer.
몰람당 레와 killing 때자가 나고 말이.
So the aspiration and hope and promise is not same.
레와 짱 척거리. 몰람 립 척거리.
So you can hold hope, you can aspiration, and you.
killin도 강정마 좀 하지네요.
So you, but you don't have to promise.
Can I say something? Because Helen and I were talking about that yesterday. Actually, I feel. I'll just explain to him first.
Okay.
Okay. 我昨天和 Helen 我们还说了 ，Helen 问我，然后我说其实因为每个派的感觉不一样，比如说格鲁就是特别 logic， 特别有逻辑性那种的，然后如果是就是集中在格鲁的时候，你就是很尖锐的那种辩论啊什么的，但是时间一长的话又觉得很怎么说好枯燥，然后就是每个派的感觉不一样，而且那个大脑到一定的程度，你只能吸收那些了，然后如果再进行不下去的时候，换到另一派的时候，其实到他身上就换一个不同的角度去看问题，然后又能再吸收进去，其实这个样子倒更适合，更能帮助学习。I was just talking, is Hannah and I we talked about that yesterday. It's actually kind of in English.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just trying to tell them first. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. There's actually different sort of like Lupa has a very logical, sharp, debating approach, very logic. But then if you go through it for a long time, it becomes a bit boring, and person tend to be from me. I'm just talking about myself. I can become a bit mechanical, and at one point I just can't take in anymore. Like the whole system doesn't absorb any nutrition anymore. And then at this point I might go to do, depending on how I feel, I might go to do my Sakya studying or read some Padma Sambhava's teachings and that kind of, like from the great yogas their own experience, and then they tell the host in the way how they approach is different, and somehow like different pair of eyes are opened, and I start to absorb that again. And yes, with all these different like aspect, different pairs of glasses, sort of make me keep growing, and the interest is also keep growing.
Hoi, that's the Nigeria. Naran so changing na song yoda. Simchen Tonshi Shashir Hong Muftan, Gadan, Tori Hong, the Yoda Hong Jela Tingo Yorwa. The Hong Jela Tindo, the Tori Bonla Timbersha, the Dictator. And Kavin Tam, Rebjana, so the Chico Yore. Tamachi Dictator. Hovjong in Nanda, Tuba in Nanda, Samba in Nanda, Gumba in Nanda. Tela, there is the Sun that in some young machina, then the Chula Chintam in the Pangan Yun Bade, did you or the Chanogre? Something you go to something a song that you are going to the Banam, you hear John Tamami.
This is, as Shanti Deva said, there's 4 ways or 4 support as you can take. So if we too much stubborn and too focus without understanding and or inspire, and then sometimes that kind of happened. So that's why you need some break, and the break. If there's no break without inspiration, and then it becomes like that kind of. That is normal. And this is already said all the noble beings, so you have some break, it's okay. So even Buddha Shakyamuni taught us Jongji. Jongji is monks have 3 months summer retreat, summer rainy time. Rain retreat, yeah. So after that, he advised to go some Jongji. Jongji means you relax and go everywhere and kind of rest.
Oh yeah. Oh.
I wanted to talk about what do you think are the skills and methods for having a constructive debate, but in a secular setting where, you know, people aren't monks and they haven't been formally trained and they're emotional and everyone has a lot of different views. Like, how do we have, constructive conflict?
Constructive conversations?
Yeah.
Or dialogue?
Well, I'm actually talking about conflict, about people, and dialogue,
okay.
about people having very different views. Like, how do we negotiate this when not everyone has a formal Rime view? They might be emotional. What are these skills?
So, 다 소파지교 to some goals in the 소파지 jam본더 그때 우차가 고자가다 니 머스캬포 먹는라 소파도 친다지 반바당 반디단 바도 용고를 했어. 회나 되게 못함지도 또 소파라든 랍샹이온 말했어. 되게 소파가 죽디 텔랍샹이온 말 되게 그차가 서로와양 담다 삼스리양 담다 흑첸보 요리 했더니 서로와양 흑첸보 요리 되게 딥쇼라 다 되게 시작하고 디 소파도 껴는데 문제라 노파다 문제라 판톡제즈 lokjet tashi 나르시.
소파 장디가 다소 당보한 거 아무게도 야보지 하고 거래. 아무게도 야보지 하고디 소피를 그러면 난다. 정글라 소피 정글라 장 소파 지나 다지 그 반바마도 오노바 매지 나오리.
So first, when we debate, before we have to know what is your motivation and purpose of the debate. If we have really pure motivation and purpose, then perhaps never harm.
Oh yeah, sopa jadi kita tu, ni tada jini pasra jawa dang tilan sopa dang solan jadi kita tu, ni nyomo ba mariba de ngola dokto kana ji jak thap kandu ti mariba de me pa kana ji thap kandu ni sherap koni kon de kana pher kandu yamba la rikpi jong kana kana ndu ti rikpi to la te ni sherap de kon ya ji thorn de ji phamba kana ndu ji teda to tang mo ni ne tena la samlo dang na sopa ji di thiba da samare.
So when first we started the debate, if we think of that you concentrate on this debate, purpose of this debate is how can I develop my or improve my perception, and what kind of challenges the other people have, and the challenge is how can improve my limit understanding. If that kind of the full purpose is you focus in the afflictions, and then maybe not become harmful.
Tambo ni na nga jergo sen phamgo samba ga jerpham go samlo de sikchimbo jini de amir de jerjak jini ngama jambala ngorkur kanda ton thapkandu na mojamba gandalam na ngi lan de jago samba go karidina sen phambar chepi samlo khona ga rajer jamba go samlo khona ga toba jidi ta to nyomo ba pher di sare.
So instead when you start debate, if the main purpose is you are win and the other people lose, and it's a very competitive attitude, then is perhaps have problems arise.
Sopa sabanga no son rambi chet sopa jina angi nyomo pher kare la kudu sopa la tenni maripa jershi ba tang sirap kong de pher che bi amungra jerja ka goni sopa jina phamba ma to no ba yo mari ngi namjin dana la pyo.
So I say always that if you debate, the purpose of debate, you try to compete in who is sharp, more sharp. That kind of attitude, then you have problems. But if your full purpose is how can I reduce my ignorance and how can I improve my wisdom, then no problems.
Tangbo ni ga tangbo da kare de gone go ngana do chemba phomo ji na tangbo ni ga na lam jang je la to tang sang ka ka la jang go do sar pa na pe mang bo jang do sobra chama na che to na ga mo ja ga ta sar tong go yo le den na te tam chi ga go mo du sam go do tangbo ro lang ga na ba jan ji go ni song na chi tab de yo wa tang ta na yong sa re sam go do pham ba te li jang pham ba che do sam go.
So nowadays people have kind of like this establishment debate, and everywhere lay people debate in monk's way, doing like these things, but he thinks it's unnecessary. That is this is sometimes maybe dangerous, too competitive. Instead, if you just have kind of a discussion, open discussion, it's more gentle way.
Tani dovshola toba je ama to ngajola toba je ate ngala nga tani muba mi kare dina te tawati lanji na chokore ma to toba je jo te ngajola kare dina ngachok tam su de be ma ba nyambo ring gar ma choksa yo ale ta kali khondu samge.
Also, the debate is only suitable for in sutra part, but in tantra part, I personally don't like debate. And in debate, in tantra part, maybe you have kind of question and answer, but is to debate is a little bit of disrespect.
Ngato shata dang de gomi na la soba thing dik da zo ni ndo shok la soba chukure shi ba la jap chur jing khang dik tin shen de ni jang ji gao chu dang jap chur dang chang ma jing khang dik tin yan na nga shok sa soba ji min yan de khang dik tin.
So, and our monasteries, they establishing the debate approach. I always support and with joy to the sutra where they can debate, no problem. But tantra way, I always disagree, have debate. Okay, this is maybe enough.
Time for maybe one more?
I would love to hear Rambo body story with the dog more. Please.
So move the Jalu Tansani to Chagin that you was on Jambo. Discord Tarong Kilis Conan Dogs.
Tang it, Nala, shut your tongue me by your in some motion as Docomari. Tell a Ichi Jim Canyon, the Cardina Rangla Nipa Meba the Mojamba Ichi Jacob.
So I have so many things to talk about this. Even many days you cannot finish it.
Fantastic.
But,
we stay.
But this is other people's qualities. So when I have this kind of quality, then it's telling stories not many people believe. So kind of pointless.
Cardina Mosadang saying Rangla Nipa Meba Tang.
So whoever the people, something is their own out of own capacity, then people don't really believe and they don't really trust. Especially in the Western country, you don't have the logic system Tibetan has. So when you don't have that logic system, then you always kind of black and white. So if you already decide one, then it's difficult to change. So for us is of course if something is obvious and you can detect obvious level, that is great. But if something you cannot detect from obvious level and it's kind of a hidden situation, then you have to use logic, and something go beyond logic. Then we don't make conclusions, and instead we say this is we don't know yet. But in the West culture seems like if they didn't find, then kind of put in a category not exist. So these three valid perceptions, they don't think about much, and instead the first one, obvious level, exists or not, that is the take as important in this culture and this society. Because the most of the world and the people, they only focus in hearing knowledge and thinking, thinking and reflecting, but not this only knowledge they have, don't have meditative wisdom. So therefore you cannot see the most profound because you don't have that meditative knowledge. So your question is really good, because even you have some doubt of that, that also makes the whole existence is make a shake.
Tani Jaliba that you the Tani of the Tani Mari, Maranto, Moyena Jarga Yerla, Shendini Jamambu Shoni, Tronchir Koran, Tomba Chasona Lord Yori.
So the rainbow body is not something new. This is very long time ago. Happened in India, and then the towns completely vanished. Everybody. That kind of history we have.
타벤나 가노서 파키스탄 단다가 쇼라 오르겐비라 오티야나가 쇼라 남바 미바 창조도 지스킨 카리디나 니라 tuyori.
So, for instance, in the origin, the region in Pakistan become the Buddhist community vanished. It have two reasons.
지금 저바 도바 망보 차디 파르치르 나라도 나비 머리가 동성인 라고요.
So one reason is because all the Buddhist people become Mahasiddha and Rainbow Valley, that kind of situation. This all Buddhist vanished.
니바도 다 같이 되셔라 아마가 영원히
So the second is the Islamic soldiers killed them and converted them. Converted.
Oh yeah. 다 가상 저런 게 철견당 뒤에 냠던 자리야 송아리 되나? 니 당보 가톡바 그 동상천범 저 뒤로 주샤긴.
So the regard about with the dog and rainbow body, I'm going to talk about Katokpa's Shangchip, Shangchimbum.
동상천범 그런 bombo지리.
Dongshangchimbum, he has a bombo.
말이.
Huh?
혼보지.
Oh, Hombosh. He is one of the leader of the community.
그 단단하고 있나 감지 클 베이 종그 공토래.
So if we look at now is the Chinese government how they made the structure is Kamdi Zong and Pei Shangzia. Kamdi 2. Or Kamdi 2 and Pei Zong under there.
Pei Shen. 네.
The
이즈섬도의 기대나 사차지 요리. 단다지 사차지 요리.
이즈섬도, this is place.
dana gomba chimboji ge shil danda sarta ni yori ngoma yuze amato tama tongo yoma.
They found a huge monastery under the ground.
Oh yeah. Dana ngoma tongsongare yoari dini lorji tangmina yoari dana yenang tamaga tenaji shongyongsa yoari tamaga tang staki de yoari wa chang yosamari labu.
They have some story a long time ago. There's a big monastery, but they all vanished. But then many people didn't believe, so because they didn't see anything, it's completely empty grass. But now they found it.
사니 뭐 상마라 때라 때니 인자리와 망보 당송아리 되죠. 사니 랑 나가지나 차상 그 인자리바 동송시 사자리 되니 나 진짜 그런 또 나가진라요.
This kind of story is oral, the local people's oral story.
동상진 뭔가 줍다 망보 잡이와네. 곰바 침보 요와네. 아 자와 빼 망보. तमातो आया तंग लियांग मांगबो यो
Tongshan Chenpo, he found many monasteries and many retreat centers, and a lot of monks and also a lot of yak and sheep.
तमातो छिरगेन जगह यो
A lot of dogs.
जिमा खरन जालिया तांग काबला खरन जालिया मातंग मोला लिखत तो जालिया तांग.
Before he become rainbow body, even shepherds become rainbow body. First they killed all sheep and eat it. And then everybody criticizes, oh my God, this Lama even killing sheep and eat sheep. It must be very bad. Then he said, everybody come and look at. Then he put all the bones, the shape, and put it inside the skin, and then put outside.
와야 tani sekur jigda yagdi lig thangma yalang ni sombo chagni rango lando jaga.
Then he do it like this, and then all the shapes stand up, and they went on the grass.
Oh, tani ni lig kang yang say yo mari lig sabati charang tun chenang de la bio.
He said, I never killed any shape, as you seen this is your illusion.
Oh, tani ta charang to lig da zol ta la bio.
Now you go and look at the shape, what they're doing.
Tani korang rig pa fi ni lig da zol da nya bar jaga jaga lig thangma kale injali tang so.
And after that, he stay in the meditative mind, and he included all shapes, and then all shape become rainbow body.
Tani thangma hali ni kola tapa chi mangbo chi tsara yong korang ge ngoma korang pombo yendi ga rawo ta so yang ko ramla yong nyam nin ji yo.
Then everybody follow him and practice from him, and even his enemies, before when he is leader, he has many enemies. So this even enemies come to him, and then they did receive teachings and practice.
Tani lo jingnyang la bio re ta lo ni chang la bio re ka ta yang lo mangbo ji ga thangma nyam de ta na ge gum jam ni da ni ta ge thangma dev chi de jali da so.
So then after that, some stories say 12 years, some stories say 20 years. Either way, they practice all together many years, and then later on everybody become rainbow body.
Disappear before.
Oh yeah. Tana focus ami mangbo la chong du sibu ta jama re.
This is one example, but many other places happened in Tibet.
Kare de go na to lo ngalang to go kong ni yara ya si na lo ngat ya dang tib ya den ya ti baro la chong go man che ju wa ya de.
So this is when this happened is more like 500 years ago, 600 years ago, 700 years. That time happened.
Asid lo samja go nang lo la yer ma tana de shi Chenpo chong go.
That's very strongly happened within 300 years.
Tani tirap chik ba da tirap chik ni bi nang lo la yang tana dev chik da mangbo jali da song na yang mangbo chong go.
After that, 11th century and 12th century also many things happened like that.
Oh, tana ge chok ji ma to tani